Welcome back to Knockout Knowledge with Don and Beto. I'm Don, this is Beto. Last week, first episode, and I think it went well. No problems with the recording, no editing problems. So,
and our picks kind of hit.
Yeah,
not gonna lie.
311 last week was a lot of fun. If you didn't catch last week's episode, we looked forward to 311 and we made our predictions on the year. And I will say, I did mention once that maybe if Imavov got Umar, maybe could be fighter of the year. And he already wants to fight again. He had a really good fight. But before we get into him, let's recap this 311 card. Before we get into the main card, I think the biggest shock out of those prelims, Peyton Talbot lost.
Yeah.
Dominated, really, too, almost. Interesting fight. I was cheering against him. I didn't bet on or against him, but definitely cheering against him, and he lost. He lost his perfect record, but, I mean, he got dominated on the ground, and that's really what Barcelos, he came in. That's what he played, or I wouldn't say played, but he fought how he wanted to fight, dominated the fight, and there was times where it was like, oh, here we go, Talbot's finally got his momentum, like his mojo, and then Barcelos laid a takedown, and it's like, never mind.
Yeah, it was just one of those classic striker versus grappler matchups, and in that, of late, I mean, like I can't think of one off the top of my head where the striker has outstruck and outbeaten the grappler. Like if you're a grappler with a good gas tank in the MMA world, it makes a big difference. And Peyton Talbot, I mean, hopefully he learns from this and he can adjust. And who knows? Maybe we'll see him in the rankings in a few years. But now is definitely not that time.
Yeah, absolutely not. Not after that performance. But I mean, I think the prelims of 311, great prelims to start the year on the card. I mean, there were some zeros lost, and I know we were talking about that Clayton Carpenter fight. I know he lost to start the night, but overall, really good card. But I mean, is there really besides the Talbot fight, is there really like a prelim fight that stuck out to you with that 311 card?
Nothing too crazy. I mean, Grant Dawson had a really good fight, and it's crazy because Grant Dawson's record speaks for itself. I think he's only lost once in his professional career, and on the verge of being ranked at lightweight, which is a big, big deal.
That's debatably the hardest division to be ranked in.
Yeah, there's so many stars, especially like in the lightweight division. I think we have the most like genuine like popularity stars in there. But other than that, I mean, like nothing too crazy on the prelims that really shocked me or stood out. We did have a few debutants both win and lose. So, so
it was a I mean, nothing overly spectacular, but when you have Talbot in the prelims, usually happens to be a good draw for the prelims. He's a big guy over there, popularity wise. But let's get into the main card. First fight of the night: Holland, De Ridder, RDR.
Yeah.
Holland looked rough. We talked about it a little bit. I said I wanted Holland to win. I think it's really hard to cheer against Holland. But I really did think RDR was going to take him to the ground, which he did, and dominated the ground.
In like the first 10 seconds, there was a takedown shot, and Holland did not get back up.
No. And RDR did what he wanted to do. And sure enough, got the win over Holland. So RDR, man, we're going to talk about fights to make after, but he's looking solid. He's really,
Yeah, he definitely has a shot to be, and we'll talk about this later in the fights to make, but he is one of those guys who came, a champion from a different organization to come in and beat a notable name. If you beat a name like Kevin Holland, doors open up for you, and we'll continue to touch on that later.
RDR definitely going to be a topic that we like to talk about a little bit, but one thing we did not get to talk about was Moicano Dariush canceled.
Yeah.
So the fight that made up for that was Almeida Spivak. Again, not great with names. First round finish. I mean, I think it might have. There's that debate where it could have been an early stoppage, but
I don't think Spivak is changing the fight at all.
I don't think that you can. Yeah, I did see like where people were coming from. So, oh, they stopped it early. Like he could have made it. I don't think so. I think they made the right call on that. I mean, overall, I mean, it was an interesting first round. Definitely wrestled. That's what we talked about, is that they're going to wrestle. Sure enough.
I was surprised that Spivak got Jailton down first, Jailton Almeida, but Jailton Almeida battled through. And then what I think I said in the last podcast is the striking will be the difference, and Almeida knocked him out via strikes.
Yeah, so that fight obviously replaced the Dariush Moicano fight. Dariush, hey, he's still got a payday, though. So, I mean, he obviously you want to fight if you're in the UFC, but making money, that is the name of the game. And I know he got paid like a fight win.
Yeah.
So good for him. Obviously with Sarukian pulling out, but
The night before, the day of, like.
I remember texting you texted me. It was like, oh, I'm hearing Armin might pull out. I was like, no, man, that's just rumors.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, or I looked into it more. I'm like, he's really gonna pull out. 10 minutes later, Dana posted the video. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Which was such a good fight. I mean, that was years in the making. It would have been really, really like a shift for the lightweight division of Islam, who represents the old guard. You know, he's in his I think he's 35 right now, and fighting with all of the legends: Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, and he said next if Gaethje wins his fight, then he's gonna fight Gaethje. But he represents the old guard. Armin represents the new generation of lightweight. Something like 27 years old, 29 in between there, young. And so if he won, it would have been changing of the guard. But now we have to wait on that fight for who knows how long, because Dana said he has to fight again before he can.
Which I do like. I mean, if you're gonna pull out, and I know Dana's probably a little pissed that his main event moneymaker didn't happen. So, but next fight. Probably, I mean, this might have been one of the more hyped up fights we see these main card fights, but this is one of the best main card
non-title fight, like a feature bout. Yeah.
This is a really good non-co-main. Yuri Prochazka, Jamal Hill, man, they put on a show.
Yes,
that first round, Yuri looked, I mean,
unbelievable.
It was really surprising. He's still like the hands were. One thing I noticed is that you could see him like trying to like work on the hands, but
it wasn't natural to him.
No, it wasn't. But the biggest thing I could take away from that was that head movement.
Yes.
Very nice. And you could say Jamal probably maybe won that second round, but that third round, awesome, man. Yuri came out throwing, and Yuri, I mean, looked nice. He called out Pereira. I
think he needs one more before the title, especially with Pereira fighting Ankalaev. Now, if Ankalaev wins, Yuri's right in line for a title shot, I think.
Yeah.
But, right, Yuri, like you said, he talked about after his last fight with Pereira, he needed to evolve. He needed to change a little bit in his game. And you're right, the head movement.
It was beautiful.
The head movement was beautiful. The defense, the timing, the counters, and everything like that. Still fought with his hands down. Yeah. He went on the Joe Rogan podcast recently, and he talked about why he fights with his hands down. He says, whenever you're like standing around and like walking around, this is where your natural position is. Yeah. So he feels more natural with his hands down in the octagon. And when his hands are up, his mindset is defensive rather than attacking. So he's a big mindset guy. He's a big go out and commune with nature and then go train kind of guy.
And I think another thing, I haven't watched the episode of the Joe Rogan podcast with him, but I did see one clip where he was like 208 on fight night. And that's just so impressive, where he, in a world full of weight bullies, fights at his natural weight. And it's very impressive.
And still looks big.
He looks huge. I mean, he's so ripped, so jacked, like good built. But Jamal Hill, I mean, he had his moments in that fight, sure. It was an overall great fight. But again, we're going to talk about more fights to make. I feel like Jamal Hill is probably, I wouldn't say the more obvious guy on the fights to make, but there's definitely one fight in line for him.
100%. And it's going to be one of the lower ranked guys. It has to be. Jamal Hill, like, after the loss to Pereira and now after the loss to Yuri, is going to have to really make a statement in his next fight if he wants to fight for the title.
Absolutely.
So give him a title-worthy opponent, I guess you could say, and see how he does.
And now next, in my opinion,
really good fight.
Coming into it, I figured that Islam and Armin would be the best fight, and then when Armin pulled out and they fought Moicano, I'm like, okay, this fight right here, Merab and Umar. I mean, Merab was such a big underdog because
I think 3-1, almost 4-1 in some sports books.
And like it was like, oh, Umar, he's a really good defensive takedown. He's gonna dominate him on the feet, dude. Merab looked sharp. He had, I think it was 7 takedowns, and I think like those first 2 rounds all Umar. But that's what we talked about is if it gets to those later rounds, no way Merab loses. Merab's cardio is unfreaking matched, and we saw it. Yeah. We saw that where going into that 4th and 5th round, you saw the gas tank of Umar gone. Because I mean, I think he had one 5-round fight, and that was Sandhagen. But Sandhagen didn't work him like Merab did. Merab worked him.
Yeah, nobody in that bantamweight division works like Merab does. It's ridiculous.
And here's the thing I'm thinking of: is there the debate to be made? Merab,
the goat of the division.
Yeah, like, is he the GOAT of that division? Because, I mean, go look at his last 5 fights. Now, Umar, Suga, Peter Yan. Wait.
It's Henry
Yeah,
Cejudo.
it was Peter Yan.
Yeah, Henry Cejudo and Yan,
and Jose Aldo.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Those are all champions.
Yeah, all former champions. I get it. Aldo's not in his prime, but still, it's Aldo. Mm-hmm. Wow. Like, Merab looked dominant. He put on a show. I mean, he was taunting him at the end. I think that fight, honestly, made Merab... I wouldn't say a fan favorite, but
he definitely won more fans
a lot
than he
more
had.
people.
Yep.
Yeah, I think a lot more people are attracted to him, which I do think most of his hate comes from that big fan base Sean O'Malley has. Mm-hmm. It's like everyone loves Sean, but when he loses, the guy he loses to, bad guy.
Yeah,
which I get, but still, Merab looked so good, so dominant, and I think, like, again, we talked about it. There is truly a debate to be made. He is the GOAT of that division, and I mean I can't say it enough, but Umar had his moments. Obviously, we talked about first and second round. That third round is the round everyone's talking about. Like, it should have been Umar, like it should have been Merab, blah, 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 blah.
I think Merab won. When I was watching the fight, I was like, yeah, Merab definitely won that round.
So you had, like, I think every score, like every judge had it. Like 2 of them had it 48-47, then one had it 49-46. They had Merab winning that first round. So I think the judge, like a lot of the UFC Twitter fans are like, oh, the third round went to Umar, blah, 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 blah. But really the judges were looking like maybe the first round went to Merab. Then I think it was a fantastic performance. I believe it got fight of the night.
Yes, it did. It did.
I was about to say it was either them or Jamal Hill and Yuri, but
yeah,
wow, what a performance Merab put on, taunting Khabib. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's awesome. As he was trying to get, like, as Umar was trying to land a takedown, he's just, and he really put together a fantastic performance. And again, we're going to talk about fights to make, but I don't really see a lot of people, because I was told Umar was the guy to beat him.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of people beating Merab right now.
Yeah, no. I mean, like, who else is there? He's on an 11-fight win streak with, like you said, all of his last wins have been against former champions and like top 5 contenders. So who is there that can actually fight Merab, first of all? Because, you know, UFC, it's hard to make rematches, especially when you're going like Merab. Like, you just dominate every single fight you're in. Yeah. So who do you give? And I have a sneaky pick, but we'll talk about that in the fights to make section.
And then in the most maybe I wouldn't even say anticlimactic, but people weren't really expecting this fight to be a lot. Islam Moicano. Obviously, it's not Islam's fault. It's not Moicano's fault. Moicano stepped up, took a fight, late notice, against arguably the greatest lightweight of all time. Yeah. And Islam did exactly what we expected Islam to do. Yeah. Take him down, put him in a darce, go to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're the number 1 pound for pound, like, that's what you do. Yeah. And I think there would have been an argument, like, let's just say this fight goes 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds. People would have been like, oh, Islam, like, bad fight. Like, you know.
It didn't even make it out of the
first. Islam did exactly what he needed to, especially to uphold his reputation as, like you said, the greatest pound for pound fighter in the world. And on top of that, maybe the greatest lightweight ever.
Yeah, I mean, he, not really much to talk about this fight. There was that knockdown.
Yeah, he slipped.
Yeah, he slipped. I will say, though, like, if you were watching, it was electric. Because, like, in the moment, you can't really tell if it's a slip or not. I was like, oh. What kind of? But no. Islam, I think it was one takedown, put him in the darce, and it was over.
Even on the feet, Islam looked pretty sharp. Like, he was counter striking, he was keeping the distance.
And you know, the Nurmagomedovs and Dagestanian boys, they can only wrestle. I like, Islam's different, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw his boxing ability against Poirier, where he debatably, possibly outboxed Poirier, who's one of the best strikers in UFC history. But 311, good pay-per-view to start the year. Next one, not so good. We'll talk about that a little later. But let's talk about some fights to make after 311. Overall, I mean, we talked about all the good fights that happened. Talbot, I think maybe he takes a little break. But let's start with the main card fighters. You know, Holland, RDR. What's some fights you thinking you could see for either of those guys? Holland,
he's a draw. I think Holland does whatever he wants.
Holland will fight whoever Dana wants him to fight, because Holland, I mean, obviously he's not really, I wouldn't say fighting for a title, but like he just wants to fight.
Yeah.
So
and if title opportunities come, then they come.
Yeah, but I think Holland, it's really hard to predict who he's going to fight. He'll fight anyone.
He will. RDR though, I think it's a little more simple. Like, you look at the rankings and then you base it off of that. And I think just looking at the UFC rankings, like there's one name that really sticks out to me. It's Jack Hermanson. Jack Hermanson is known as like that that gatekeeper to the rank division. I mean, he's fought like everybody. And so if there's one guy that I think that RDR should fight next, it's Jack Hermanson. He's talented on the ground, talented on the feet, a savvy veteran. Definitely a test to RDR. Maybe he gets one more fight of like a guy who's right outside the top 15 and then a ranked opponent. But I think if I were him, like he's done enough. Give him a top 15.
I think you have to give him that top 15 fight. I fully agree with you. I think top 15 fight, that's the fight to make with RDR, really, after that performance against Holland.
Mm-hmm.
But Yuri, Jamal Hill, I think I'm going to go ahead. I think Hill, in my opinion, there's one fight to make. I think you got to give him Roundtree.
100%.
Clear Roundtree, Jamal Hill. I think that'd be a very good fight. We saw Roundtree put up one of the toughest fights Pereira's ever fought.
Mm-hmm.
Took him to round 4 and, I mean, probably won the first 2 against him.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, Pereira turned it on.
Yeah, it was ridiculous watching him just march down Roundtree after 2 rounds of getting beaten up. Like, it was close. Those first 2 rounds were close. Yeah. But I think, like you said, Roundtree did definitely edge him out. Like, noticeable enough for me to be like, okay, Pereira's down. He needs to step it up.
Yeah.
And then finished him. But that would be a really good fight.
I think it really would. I would maybe probably a main card fight on a good pay-per-view like 311 was, maybe a fight night main event, or maybe a co-main to a crappy card like 312.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Jamal Hill versus Cleo Roundtree is the fight to make.
And that fight was scheduled a little bit ago too, but both of them had to pull out due to injury, and that fight was completely changed.
Yeah, so I think that's probably one of the more like obvious guys that he'll like. That's one of the more obvious picks. But Yuri, what are you thinking for Yuri?
There are several ways you could go about this. One, I think we have to wait to see what happens with Pereira Magomed, and that's a great fight. That's a great fight.
I think it'll be a great fight.
Yeah, me personally, I think Pereira is just going to go in and do what he does to everybody.
Yeah.
Because Magomed's already said, I'm going to stand and strike with him. I think Pereira's going to knock him out. But that's neither here nor there. I think Yuri would be a great matchup with the loser of that fight.
Yeah.
If it is Ankalaev, then give him against Ankalaev, or if he wants Pereira for a third time there. But there's a fight on this 312 card that we've talked about, and it is Jan Blachowicz versus Carlos Ulberg. Give him either the winner of that fight, or if it's like a clear enough case, like let's say first round sub or something, give him the loser, and then they can fight. Or I think the best option is the winner of that fight for the number 1 contender spot.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I think it's really hard to judge where Yuri's at right now with...
I think he's definitely the second by slight heavyweight in the world. The only other one that I could say is Magomed Ankalaev, but we haven't seen him. Like, he doesn't have any win inside the top 5. Yeah. Except Rakic, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
He's still getting that title shot.
Yeah. Prayer, please. Merab Umar. Merab, you can go a lot of different ways, but Umar, I think that's the one we need to talk about first. What do you think what is next for Umar Nurmagomedov?
Yeah, well, first of all, that bantamweight division is loaded.
Yeah. It's
absolutely loaded. You give him anyone inside that top 5 and it's perfect. But I think right now the better choice, I guess you could say, is Petr Yan. Petr Yan, they're right next to each other, number 2 and number 3 ranked. It's a fun fight. It's a good fight. Yan is a solid fighter, one of the most technical, high-level fighters you can get inside the entire bantamweight division. And he's already fought Corey Sandhagen, and Davison Figueiredo just lost, so it doesn't really make sense for him to go up. I think Petr Yan has enough momentum to call for that fight and have it. And it'd be a great fight. It'd be a hard fight. Who knows? That's a very even match, and that's something for me as a fan that's compelling to watch. So.
I think the only thing with Yan is like, right now Yan's like, is it Merab or is it Suga or is it Umar? So like Yan has options too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if he could easily, I think a lot of people do want to see that Yan O'Malley rematch due to what happened last time where it was a robbery.
Yeah, maybe for like a number 1 contenders fight or something like that.
I mean, there's a lot you could do with the top 3 with Suga, Yan, and Umar. I personally, I don't think it will be made, but a fight that I think Umar should fight, I think he should fight Sean.
Yeah. That'd be a good fight.
Because here's my thing. I think Merab if he doesn't fight Sugar Sean, it's gonna be Jan. Like it has to be. I don't really see him fighting anyone else in that division.
I have
it's
one.
Tough.
I have an argument here to be made.
Hey, and
but continue.
I think that I think with Umar, it really depends on who Merab fights. Because in my opinion, there's 2 fights that maybe Merab's looking at for his next defense, and that is Jan O'Malley. And I think if it really is those 2, then Umar should get whoever he doesn't fight in Jan or O'Malley. I feel like those are the 2 for either of them. But I was thinking of something else. I don't know if I'm stealing your thought. Pantoja.
Yes, 100%.
I think Merab works Pantoja, in my opinion.
This is the issue, and let me present my case.
Yeah,
so one, Pantoja has no one to fight, absolutely no one to fight.
Nobody.
I think he has wins over like 9 of the top 10 fighters in featherweight and like all of the top 5.
And I mean, they had to bring out freaking Asakura from nowhere. Like, not nowhere, but you know.
Yeah, he's Japanese champion in Ryzen, I think was the promotion, and great champion there, but clear skill difference.
Yeah.
I mean, and one thing that really separates Pantoja from the rest of the division is his scrambling ability, specifically scrambling. His wrestling's good, his scrambling's even better. And that's Chael Sonnen has said that, DC has said that, and they've said it over and over and over again. That's why I think he has a chance. If Merab's going to shoot 50 takedowns at a fight,
yeah,
he just will. The problem isn't that he doesn't land 50 takedowns at a fight. He lands 5 or 6.
Yeah,
and he'll hold you down for the rest of his fights. But imagine someone with the scrambling ability of Alessandro Pantoja. He will stuff the first takedown and scramble, and he'll take his back. That's where I could see the fight like really, really being. And in terms of cardio, Pantoja outworks everyone in the featherweight, the flyweight division. Imagine him going up in weight and like having more fitness. And he's a good size for a flyweight. I don't know how his size compares to Merab because Merab's jacked. He's strong.
I think honestly, a dream fight I would want. I want Merab to move up. I want to see. I'm like full team Merab. If you like now, I would like obviously this is kind of like a dream fight, and I know like everything that's happening right now. Obviously, he's not gonna fight Ilya, just because like Ilya has Volk, and then like it's probably gonna be Islam, maybe, like
or Lopez.
Yeah,
like Ilya's got options.
So there's not really like a Merab needs to go up and fight him, and Merab has options too. So like I think that would be interesting. Again, dream.
Yeah. It's because it's like if Merab can do that to every bantamweight in the world, can he just go up and do it to a featherweight too?
I would really like to see if Ilya could take that pressure, but probably not going to find that out.
Yeah, probably not going to happen.
But realistically, I do think like Pantoja, Sugar, Jan, those are like
they're the only options to me. And I know Dana said that Sean will probably get the rematch.
And I don't love that
Sean. Fight.
I love Sugar Sean, but he's not going to defend takedowns against Merab unless the only way he beats Merab if he can stay on the feet for 2 minutes around and catch him. Yeah. But he's not. Yeah. Because we saw it. It was pure domination.
And same thing with Umar. Umar's striking is really high level. If you saw in the first 2 rounds, like he was catching Umar. He was catching Merab, sorry. But man, I don't know. I think Corey needs to fight Sean. That fight needs to happen. That's a #1 contenders match because Corey hasn't fought Merab. Yeah. That'd be fresh. And Corey's wrestling is pretty solid too. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see.
I'd like to see Sandhagen and O'Malley. I know that's kind of being talked about right now. Sandhagen wants to fight him. I just don't know how you give. I think Sean needs to beat Jan before he gets another title fight. Yeah, or
and Umar. That's a great fight. All of them. Sean versus anyone in that top 5 is a great fight.
Because what's so good about Sean? It's like, oh well, he can't wrestle. Well, he can catch you.
Yeah, and he doesn't need to when he's striking.
That's how he wins. He catches you, and he's really good at it.
And he almost got Merab in their first fight. He caught him with a body shot that really hurt him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just hope to see Sean back in there.
Me too. I mean, as much as I do like Merab, and I really do like Sean, and I feel like him and Merab just won't be a good fight right now. He needs to go to Dagestan for a year or 2, 3 years. Forget, but Islam Moicano, we talked about that a little bit. Moicano, kind of in a weird spot. I think it's got to be Dariush though.
Yeah, I think not. Honestly, you could schedule him against any of these guys. Yeah. I really do think that what he did gave him a lot of favor with Dana. Dana's gonna look at him and be like, okay, what do you want? Like, I'll give you anything.
I know another fight that maybe he wants, but this would be kind of in later in the year. Patty. And he was talking about wanting to fight Patty, where Patty's his next fight most likely against Chandler.
He's hinted at it, yeah.
Yeah, so.
But if Patty beats Chandler, he's ranked higher than Moicano. So the fight would make a lot of sense for Moicano to fight Patty if he beats Chandler.
So that's something, but the big one here is, who is Islam going to fight next?
Yeah.
We've heard Oliveira. He wants to maybe fight Gaethje if he wins. And then there's obviously Ilya. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I'm kind of in a bind. I think if we're being realistic here, it's gonna be Oliveira. But I just don't think he wants to fight Oliveira, because he's like, it's hard to prepare when you fought against this guy before, and it's like,
it's hard to beat the same guy twice.
Yeah. And so he wants a new,
unless you're Alex
refreshing.
Pineda.
Yeah. Pereira will take any rematch.
Yeah, literally.
But I think it's probably going to be Chandler, or not Chandler.
Charles.
Yeah, Charles. But again, something to watch out for. If Islam beats Oliveira and they fight in December, like if Islam does beat Oliveira and then wants to return again December or like early 2026, I think it's got to be Ilya. Because as much as I don't want to say Ilya and Volk, I think it's probably going to go how we think it's going to go.
Yeah. Here's hoping Volk beats him and sends him to lightweight and says, "Don't come back."
Yeah, let's do that. Let's have Ilya not fight as a double champion. Let's have him fight as a contender.
Yeah. But here's my thought. I do think Oliveira is going to get the next fight. If he doesn't, Oliveira's talked about it, fighting for the BMF belt against Holloway if Islam wants to take that long layoff like he usually does.
Yeah.
And Oliveira's active. I mean, he'll fight anybody. Yeah. That'd be a fun fight. I think Islam, the fight that makes the most sense, is a fight that we haven't scheduled yet, but it's the winner of Shavkat versus Bilal. I want to see him at 170.
Islam has teased it. I don't think Islam wants to fight Bilal or Shavkat.
He said he's open to fighting Shavkat. He trains with Bilal. He won't fight Bilal. He'll fight Shavkat.
I would love to see him fight Shavkat. I would.
That's a fight that gets fans excited.
Because I think that's probably the last pay-per-view of the year. If it's either going to be last pay-per-view of the year or like we just saw January.
Yeah.
I love Shavkat might be probably my second favorite fighter. I love him a lot.
He's ridiculous. He's
him
so
and Bilal,
talented.
I mean, what is it? Being rumored for 315,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and in a few more months. Bilal obviously is coming off of a bone infection that looked bad. It looked really bad.
I was so mad when he got hurt. I'm not gonna lie.
I was hoping Shavkat would just go in there and roll him, but now we're here. I do think that fight will happen one day, because I think Shavkat's good enough to beat Bilal, and I think Islam is good enough to move up.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, let's just say he does fight Oliveira. Let's say he pulls it together. It's like Summer Oliveira, and it happens. Whatever. I don't know who can beat Islam right now. I love Charles, and Charles has the best chance out of all the lightweights in my opinion.
Yeah,
but I
totally get that, but a lot of interesting stuff for sure.
Yeah.
And before we get into the fight night this weekend, let's look a little more into the future.
Yeah,
we had some confirmed fights during 311, and it's the fight everyone's wanted to see. Everyone's saying Pereira's ducking. Ankalaev, not anymore. He's getting him 313. I believe it's in Vegas, the fight capital of the world. Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira, probably one of the most hyped up lightweight fights recently. I know, obviously, when Pereira fights, it's very hype. Obviously, main evented 300, one of the best cards ever, if not the best card ever. But
yeah,
now he's got Ankalaev, and this is the fight everyone wants to see. Obviously, if Pereira wins, we know what Ankalaev fans are going to, during Ramadan.
He can't eat, he can't train.
But no, I think that'll be a really good fight. But there's another fight that if you have friends that don't watch the UFC and you want to get them hooked, you go over to their house or they come over to yours and you turn on 313 and you make them watch the co-main. Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker in an absolute, I'm already going to say it. It's going to be a slugfest. And it's already, the fight hasn't even happened, and I already think it could be fight of the year.
Yeah.
Like
100%. These two are always in fights of the year contenders.
Yes.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that Gaethje has a fight of the year against Chandler, and Hooker, if he doesn't, he should have had the fight of the year against Dustin Poirier.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait.
Yeah.
This is, I think the loser, if the loser, like whoever loses, it's like, okay, who cares? It was an awesome fight. Like that's how I think this fight's going to be. But the winner, they get some.
Yeah, they definitely fight for the title.
Yeah,
because they're out of contenders.
Yeah.
Gaethje is the only one, I believe, in the top 5 who either hasn't fought Islam or he hasn't had the opportunity to fight Islam yet, which is unfortunate. I mean, Islam dealing with some health issues whenever they were supposed to fight on 300.
Yeah.
And so he naturally just took the fight against Holloway because he's like that. And now he's recovered and everything. But
I mean, this
he's coming
obviously
off a bad knockout. He didn't look terrible in the Holloway fight. Holloway looked on another level, but
it's Holloway.
Yeah, it's Holloway.
And obviously, this isn't a BMF fight, but this is a BMF fight.
Yeah.
Like it's that type of style of a BMF fight where it's two bad mofos going at it. Like, I mean, that's truly what you want.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you look at this fight, these guys have no care what happens to themselves. Their only thought is to inflict damage. And I mean, if you look at Gaethje's last fight against Holloway, like really, really good. If you look at Hooker's last fight against what's his name? Against Gamrot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, great fight. And he just kept walking forward, kept fighting. It was such a good fight. So like you said, easy fight of the year contender. It hasn't even happened yet.
And sorry, I got a little distracted. I'm hearing it's official. 314 in Miami. Volk, Elia 2. I think it's been signed. I think we're good. Happy Punch just put it out. Bo Nickel said it on a podcast that he was fighting at 314. He's been told it's confirmed. It's official. So 314, Ilia Topuria versus Alexander Volkanovski 2. And we are looking like the co-main is going to be Poirier Holloway.
Man.
But I know Holloway's been talking about maybe not. What I've seen is Poirier's final fight will be the co-main of 314, no matter who he fights. Poirier's final fight, 314 in Miami, in America. He is getting the fight that he wants to end his career on. Hopefully it's not against Holloway, if you want to know the truth, because I don't think Poirier is coming out of that fight alive. And I want Poirier to win his final fight. But wow, 314 looking nice, 313 looking nice. But let's talk about a pay-per-view that's not looking nice, 312.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, obviously there's some fights to look at, but
I mean, the top 2 fights are great.
Yeah, the top 2 are great, but
the rest of the card's a little thin.
I don't think there's a ranked fight on the main card.
Nope.
So
Unless they're gonna surprise add somebody really quick. I mean,
I mean that's kind of what people have been looking at, and we're obviously going to talk about this more. What is this fight? It's next week.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Sorry, I'm a big Sean fan, but yeah, so probably not going to see a lot there with more being added, but top 2 fights could be very good fights. Sean Dracus Duplessis is, Sean calls him Sean. I seen some stuff about, Sean wants to make a pact about standing on the feet. And I think people are trying to, I think people are taking that, too literally. Sean's, a joker. He's a fun guy. I don't think he was literally trying to, Sean is a good wrestler. He can wrestle very well. So I don't think, that's whatever. We'll talk about that more next week. But after 312, man, 313, 314, and then 315,
ridiculous.
Who might be the Shavkat fight we were talking about.
Yep.
And then we've got some good fight nights coming up. UFC fans getting fed very nicely to start 2025. But let's talk about the first, obviously not the first fight night, but the
most
first
notable fight night.
Big fight night. Israel Adesanya. How do you say this guy's name? I don't know.
Imavov.
Okay, I was watching
Imavov.
I was watching his stuff. He looks nice, but we'll talk about that later. I was just making sure that I said it right. You're going to have to pronounce all these names, man. These are some tough names we've got. But not a lot of prelim fights that really stick out too much.
Yeah. I mean, there's the guy that Robert Whittaker knocked out on here. Ikram Alaskarov. He's a big favorite.
But let's dive into the main card. We'll make our picks and talk about them. I've got it written up right there. I know you have it on your laptop. So my handwriting isn't the best, but you're going to have to say the names, man. I don't got the names like you.
Yeah, Muhammad Naimov and then Khan Offley, I think.
Yeah, Offley's the underdog in this fight. It's a featherweight fight. I don't know, man. This is...
Yeah, in Saudi Arabia,
yeah,
I just typically favor the guy who is first name Muhammad.
Yeah, I'm
Muhammad, Dagestanis, Middle Eastern guys like they're
both 11-3.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd be lying to you if I said I knew a crap ton about this fight. But
Me too.
I think Naimov, I think he probably ends up winning. He's a slight, I think he's a decent favorite. And again, where are we at? Saudi Arabia. Not gonna bet against him.
Nope.
But again, last time we said don't bet against Nurmagomedov. Merab went out and worked him. But,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Naimov. I think he gets the win here in featherweight, and
Hopefully can emerge as a new contender.
before we go too deep, our picks last week
They
banged. Mm-hmm. We did predict Merab. That was probably one of my best bets I've made in the recent history. But anyways, back on track here. Again, you got names, buddy.
Yeah, Ikram Aliskerov versus Andre Muniz. I mean, Aliskerov is good.
I think he wins it.
Yeah,
I think he
so
dominates.
too.
And I mean, you look at the record, 15-2 compared to 24-6, and he's, I mean, ginormous underdog. Or excuse me, favorite.
Oh, yeah, favorite, yeah.
So I think it's Aliskerov.
Yeah, there you go.
I think he gets it done.
Yeah. Saeed Nurmagomedov versus Vinicius Oliveira.
What did I say? I'm not betting against Nurmagomedov, but this fight I think it's going to be a good fight.
It's a pick'em fight. Right now, the odds are -198 to Saeed and then +164 to Vinicius Oliveira.
I mean, I think it'll be a good fight, but what's his last name?
Nurmagomedov.
I think he's going to wrestle well, but dude, we also got the guy with the last name Oliveira, man. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Nurmagomedov versus Oliveira is a dream fight. Another universe.
Yeah, man. I think it'll be interesting. Obviously, I think Nurmagomedov, if I had to guess, would probably try to wrestle.
Yeah. Well, you pick one. I'll just pick the other one just for viewers' sake.
But yeah, I'm going to go Nurmagomedov here. But I think the main thing I do like about this fight night card, it's a fight day card. It starts at 12.
Yeah.
No football on Saturday either because we have the break before the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So Saturday, definitely going to be turning it on at 12. I'm going to watch the prelims and everything because I've got nothing else to do on Saturday. But so now these final 3 fights, these are going to be some good fights.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. I mean, this one has big implications for the heavyweight division.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sergey Pavlovich versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
So I've watched a lot of Pavlovich stuff. Like,
he hit so hard.
He is a freaking dynamite. Mm-hmm. And we talked about, obviously there's one fight to make in heavyweight right now.
Yeah.
But after that fight happens, they have to find somewhere else to go. Mm-hmm. This fight right here could tell you a lot on where they go. Because I think if Pavlovich wins this fight,
he's right back in. He needs to win another fight, and then because he's already lost to Tom, and granted it was short notice. You give him a full training camp. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because, I mean, if Tom does lose that fight to Jones and probably going to retire, win or lose, Jones is. So then Aspinall loses to Jones, then you have a vacant title. Mm-hmm. And then it's like,
you need somebody.
Yeah.
You got to put somebody on there.
So I think it'll be an interesting fight. I really do like Pavlovich. I love the way he fights, and I think he's going to get it done. 18-3. He is a pretty solid favorite, not too crazy, I know.
Yeah, I mean, Rozenstruik is back in the rankings. It's number 9 versus number 4, but sometimes those hungry guys, they fight even harder.
And really at heavyweight.
Yeah. So. And Rozenstruik's a good kickboxer, too. His last fight, I believe it was Tai Tuivasa, and pieced him up on the feet. Yeah. I can check real quick.
But, I mean, solid.
Yeah, he beat up Tuivasa last fight. So
that was a 305, correct?
I think so. It was a long time ago, but it was a good fight.
It was a 305, and it was DDP and...
You're right. It was on that card, yeah.
Who's that? This is I'm going so off track. Who's the co-main?
Was it Dan Hooker? No.
I think he was the main card fight. Who was the co-main?
Kai Kara France.
Okay, yeah.
I think. I could be wrong though. We'll get into that later.
Yeah. Sorry. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, I watched this. Who was the co-main?
Mm-hmm.
Next, and honestly, this is the fight I obviously Izzy's a big name, blah 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 blah. This is the fight I care about.
Yes.
Shara Bullet, MVP, co-main event of the fight night. Shara Bullet, everyone's saying that he's about to get fraud checked. And it could happen. MVP is a freaking monster, dude. I believe his last fight, Ian Gary.
Yeah.
Lost that fight, but we know how good
moments.
But we know how good Ian Gary is. Really, after that fight against Shavkat, and probably one of the best losses overall. Like Shavkat, the boogeyman, and Ian Gary went 5 rounds with him.
And even almost finished him in the last round. It's a good fight.
And no one's ever taken him like to the distance. Ian Gary did, but Shara Bullet, man, he is a freaking killer.
Yeah, like. He has a nominee for knockout of the year.
Yeah, I mean, last time we saw him fight was the Topuria Holloway card where he hit the double spinning back fist. I remember that. It was awesome.
It was awesome.
And this is a tough fight to pick. It really is. Like, this is another pick-em fight where it's like not really a big underdog, not really a big favorite. I can't bet against Sharp Bullet, man. I think now the problem here is MVP could take him to the ground, and we've seen Sharp Bullet. Maybe his wrestling isn't as elite as some of the other Dagestan big headline name fighters. I do think his fighting his ground game will still be decent. I think Sharp Bullet wins this fight. I think he's probably gonna want to keep MVP on the feet. If he does, Sharp Bullet's gonna outbox him.
I think it'll be close. I think it'll be a lot closer than people think because MVP, he comes from a family of kickboxers, was a long-reigning Bellator champion, and like literally no one could hit him. And then goes into the UFC, fights Kevin Holland, and pieces him up pretty well, and then even had some good moments against Ian Gary. Yeah. I haven't seen Magomed fight like anybody, anyone of like extreme note.
Yeah, and this is his first. I wouldn't say like real, probably first real test,
especially in striking because they're both so high level. Like who do you pick? Who do you like? Yeah. And then it is like what you said, like a pick 'em. So just for argument's sake, I'll pick MVP because he's talented. Not only that, but he's a draw. He's a showman. I do think one thing that is going to affect the fight though is Magomed is big. Magomedov is big.
Yes, it's in Abu Dhabi too. So I mean, he's going to have the crowd behind him.
Yep.
And obviously, I don't really fight. But I've played sports before, and I know how much a crowd like being behind you can really help. And I mean, so I think Sharp Bullet gets it done. Crowd favorite, but next fight,
the man
Israel Adesanya. Last time he's on a 2-fight losing streak. Yes, and now he's got
Nasruddin
Imavov. I was watching some Imavov. I didn't even have to do my research on Izzy. I know Izzy. We know how good he is. We know he's a killer. As long as this podcast goes and as long as he fights, I will never pick that corny bastard Israel Adesanya. I do not like him. He is maybe my most hated fighter. Like, I do not like him at all. It's not even because of the stuff with Sean Strickland. I do not like the way he presents himself. I do not like the way how corny he is. That walkout where he danced. Focus on fighting, bro. Like, you are a good fighter. You could be so much cooler. But instead, you want to be like this corny guy. You're 30 years old.
Was that against Robert Whittaker?
Yes, when he did that.
And he knocked him out?
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's so good, but I just don't like him. I got Imavov. He's going to freaking piece him up, and Izzy's going to have to go retire after this fight.
Yeah, I just can't agree with you on that. I mean, look, watching back their last 2 fights, like I think the what made Izzy looked good against DDP. I think Izzy looked really good. His striking was there, his cardio was there. I think DDP is just that good. I think DDP has the heart of a champion and overcame him in that fight. Great fight. I think Izzy's going to bounce back. There is a difference between contenders and champions.
Yeah,
Izzy's a champion. And I think he's
contender.
Yeah, I watched Imavov's last fight against Brendan Allen, and I mean, it was okay. Yeah. But it wasn't anything like special. I think to beat Izzy, you have to be special. Who have we seen do it? Sean Strickland and DDP and Alex Pineda.
That's it.
That's only 3 in the UFC. Oh, and Jan Blachowicz, but he just got out wrestled, and he's so much bigger than him.
I think Imavov, I think he can out wrestle Izzy. I don't know, man. I think he's going to want to stand and trade because he's primarily a striker. If you want to know the truth, here's the thing. I think Izzy's going to win this fight. I do truly think he's going to win this fight. But I will never pick him. Just like the Chiefs. Did I think they were going to beat the Texans? Absolutely. But did I pick them? Heck no. Did I think they were going to beat the Bills? Well, actually, no. But there's something in the back of my head was like, they're gonna win. I know they're gonna win the Super Bowl. I just do. But I'm not gonna pick them. I've got Imavov winning this fight. I think, but at the same time,
I can see it happening is the thing, because of course like Izzy's been in the UFC a long time.
Yes, and
sometimes it just gets to you. Like these younger contenders just rise up. But I cannot see Imavov winning by decision. If there's one man who I think can outpoint anybody in the sport, it's Izzy.
Oh yeah, and if Imavov wins, man,
it's big for the middleweight division.
Because I mean, we all know what's gonna happen after the Sean fight. We know who DDP or Sean's gonna fight after.
Hamzat.
But after Hamzat, what's the fight to be made?
Yeah,
that's the question.
Yeah, there's a lot. Honestly, like there's not. I wish there was more activity in the middleweight division.
Because right now, like,
it's stagnant.
It's the top three.
Yeah.
That everyone's looking at. It's DDP, Sean, Hamzat.
Rob too, but Rob's lost. So.
Yeah, I mean, so those are your three big guys, but big fight night coming up this weekend. I'm excited, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think this fight night. I mean, obviously no title fight because it's a fight night, but you could debate that this fight night is better than 312 outside. Like, if you were to put,
I mean, those first three matchups, all of them are great.
Yeah, like if you take out one of the main card fights,
one of the title fights, yeah.
Yeah, if you put in a title fight on this UFC fight night, it's easily a banger of a UFC card, like pay-per-view. But instead, 312, we're going to have no ranked fighters, and we're going to see Sean Strickland and DDP probably go 5 rounds.
Yeah. Which I hope Sean wins.
Me too. But that's next week, and this is one thing I do love is, like, we've got, like, 8 straight weekends of UFC, so that's 8 straight podcasts for us.
Let's go.
We're definitely going to try to social media this more. We didn't do a great job of last week, but...
But if you like the video, share with your friends. Yeah. Like, we're trying to build something here. We'd love for you to be a part of it.
We're having a lot of fun doing this, and this is helping me with my knowledge of UFC, and obviously this guy's already an expert, so I'm getting to learn under him about the UFC. But hopefully we got this card ends up being good, and then we roll right into 312, 313, 314, 315. And then, 316 here it's probably going to be
Jones.
Yeah, it's going to be Aspinall Jones, maybe.
Hopefully. Dana teased at the beginning of the year, and I don't know what he's talking about, but knowing Dana, it's something real. Dana said he's going to try something in 2025 that's never happened before. It's going to blow everyone away.
So, do you watch any, like, Barstool stuff?
No, not really.
So, I watch Pardon My Take. It's Big Cat, PFT. Like it's mostly like NFL and college football.
Yeah.
And like it's easily the biggest podcast at Barstool. Has a ton of millions of subscribers, and they have a ton of big guests. They had Dana on once. Honestly, I will send you it. It's one of the funniest, 15, because it's like a funny podcast. Like it's a Barstool type.
Yeah.
He kept on asking Dana, was like, are you gonna get oiled up? Stuff like that. Like we all know Dana.
Yeah.
But he was talking about McGregor and like how he wants McGregor to fight at the end of the year. But the main thing Dana kept saying was there's something big that's going to happen that's in the works that nobody's going to expect. And he said that at the end of 310 last year. And I'm excited to see what this big thing is because, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, on the Pardon My Take podcast, it was time after time saying there's something big, like just no one's gonna expect it, and they tried to like get it out of him, and he was like, if we guess it, can you tell us? But nobody could guess it because I mean,
it's gonna be one of those things that's just completely out of nowhere.
I just couldn't. I've thought about this a lot, and I know we're kind of rambling right now, but that's what a podcast is.
Yeah.
I think a lot. What possibly could it be? Like, is there a double champion fight that maybe we're not looking at? Is there because
this is what I would love to see. I would love to see. So, and the only reason this could be possible, the PFL and the UFC are under the same ESPN banner. Champion versus champion. Like every single fight is a PFL champ versus a UFC champ. And then if that's the case, let's just say Jones goes out there, beats Tom, Jones and Ngannou.
Yeah, I don't think Dana wants to deal with Ngannou.
I don't think so either. But that would be like an actual dream fight. Because then we could see who's the baddest man in the world. The heavyweight champion of the world is supposed to be the baddest man in the world.
And speaking of PFL, Tony.
Yeah. It's GFL he's at, actually.
Oh, he's not even at the PFL, dude. Come on, Tony.
No. That's
Come on,
sad.
Tony.
Rip Tony Ferguson.
I truly cannot think. Like, it's not going to be a McGregor fight that we're not expecting because he's openly said he wants McGregor to fight this year. What the hell? He wants McGregor to fight, so it's not going to be that. I don't think it would be like Pereira and Jones because he said it's something nobody's expecting, and like that's been talked about a little bit.
Pereira Aspinall has been talked about too.
Yeah,
that'd be a great fight. But I could still see it coming. You know what I mean?
I'm just trying to think of something that I've heard zero stuff about. Like the only thing I could think of is that what if we just have like an insane like 300 type card again where it's like every champion fights or something. But like obviously that can't happen.
Yeah, because then they wouldn't have any other no one for pay-per-view after
so like
that.
maybe there's like a big two double champ fights on a card maybe
maybe tournament style same night kind of fight card.
Yeah, I just can't truly think. Maybe like Khabib's coming back. Like,
now that would be the biggest plot twist. No one would see that coming.
Maybe we got Khabib McGregor too. I mean, I'd be there to watch it. McGregor would get worked, but
I think if Khabib were to come back, he'd fight at middleweight.
Yeah, if he came back, Hamzat.
I don't know. Maybe he just puts Bo Nickel in a title fight right now just for the heck of it.
Yeah, I just truly can't think. Maybe Chael Sonnen and DC. Maybe they're gonna fight.
They are coaches on The Ultimate Fighter.
I mean, maybe they're fighting at the end of The Ultimate Fighter like they used to back in the day.
That'd be so.
But
funny.
I mean, I think like almost every time I talk about UFC, it always spins back to that, and I think in the back of my head, what is this big thing that nobody's seeing?
Yeah, and one thing I love about Dana White is he doesn't bluff. I've never seen Dana White just be like, we're doing this thing, and then the rest of the year goes by and nothing happens. If he says there's something in the works, genuinely,
I just hope it's not like Power Slap.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is. Because they were talking about UFC, and then like that's where he was like, there's a big UFC thing. I'm like, what's maybe a double champion fight that we talked about Ilya Merab, but doubt that. But again, I mean, apparently
maybe it's like 2v2.
Yeah, like we got a 2v2. We got Islam and Umar versus somebody. But
yeah,
I just can't think. Maybe it's Islam Shavkat, but that's been talked about a little bit. Maybe it's Shavkat going up, and I just couldn't tell you. I really could not tell you what I think because Dana's doing a good job hiding it. So. We're hopefully we'll get it.
Yeah, I would expect we get it in summertime.
That's what I think too. And
either the announcement of it or the actual fight itself.
Like either maybe like at least a hint.
Yeah.
Because I think that if he's waiting like this long to announce it, it's gonna be like an end of the year type thing.
Yeah.
And really, because at the end of the year is when it's like these big fights anyways. Like
you know what it could be, and this is like, I think one thing that would actually be crazy is a venue. So we've seen crazy venues in the past, like with the Sphere.
But
listen, the Roman Coliseum.
That would be insane.
That would actually be crazy.
Where's another big venue? He already said Sphere's a no-go.
Yeah.
I don't really care. Like, it was a cool visual. I do think you could do a little bit better with it. Like, the fights were kind of just
Yeah, I think they have to go back with a really sick card.
Like, you need a UFC 300 type card to go back to the Sphere. But, maybe Roman Coliseum would be fucking crazy.
Yeah, maybe Ilya filling up a soccer stadium.
Yeah, maybe we have an outdoor fight.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be cool.
Bar fights.
Obviously, yeah. Maybe, obviously a little too weather dependent.
Yeah.
You'd have to go out to SoCal, maybe, if you want to do it outside.
Yeah, I don't know.
St. Louis, maybe we're having the greatest card ever in St. Louis, and I'm going to spend all my money to get a ticket.
Exactly.
Maybe that's the biggest thing. Maybe they're having a fight in the arch.
On top of the arch, actually.
Loser has to fall into the Mississippi River and never be seen again. But I just can't. I truly cannot think of like what this big announcement is.
Me neither.
It's got to be a venue, or it's got to be like the craziest fight we've never expected. Because besides that,
GSP coming out of retirement
could be. I don't think it'd be a coming out of retirement guy though.
No, because the fans wouldn't get too excited about that.
Yeah,
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see, but I think it was a solid episode this week. So, talked about the fight night, talked about everything. Next week, pay-per-view number 2 of the year. Sean Strickland DDP in a lousy pay-per-view, but hey.
We got Sean.
I'm going to watch Super Bowl weekend. It's going to be a big... That's one thing. I really did expect this card to be a little bigger with it being Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah, but I think so. And this is the rumor. The rumor is they try to get Volk and Tapori on that card,
which makes sense. And you put like Sean DDP maybe at the co-main, and I mean that right there. But still, it's just like even if that was the main and co-main, there's no good fights.
Yeah, there's no ranked fighters in there.
I think maybe they were banking on Usman to fight too.
Yeah, so. I think Usman versus Jack Della Maddalena was supposed to be on that card, but Usman is rehabbing his knees right now. So,
a lot of stuff coming up. Thank you all for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment. What you want to see next?
And tell us if our picks are good or bad.
Yeah, hey, and screw you if you say they're bad because they were good last week. So, thank you all for watching. We'll catch y'all next week.